everybody. Hope all is well. Hope all is well. So here we are today on Let's Converse, because it is definitely a conversation. I'm super excited. I have Trustee Joyett Williams, who is running for county clerk, on today. We're a little bit late, but however, she had an accident, so she'll tell us not only a little bit about herself before we dive into these questions, but also the fact of, I see that you came in on crutches. So that's the reason for the delay. So it's a long hallway to get down here, so we're a little late. But you know what? The show must go on, and the questions must be asked. So thank you, Trustee Joyett, for coming in today. You are a current guest that you come all the time, so I want to make sure that, we give you this opportunity to tell us about this new run that you're making. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me on the show.
Pleasure.
You've done some really, really fantastic work in this new space, and I want to applaud you and celebrate you because you're just doing some great, really, really great things now.
Thank you.
So I want to share a little bit about the clerk's position and why I'm running. The county clerk is responsible for all of the records having to do with property deeds and property transfers. The county clerk's office also handles all of the business licenses in the county. That includes MWBE and access to the resources that are available, grants, etc.
Mm-hmm.
The county clerk's office also handles all of the court records, and that goes from the local courts up to the Supreme Court. All the records are filed there in the county clerk's office. If there is a need for a FOIL request, that also goes to the clerk's office for request of records and access to information.
Oh.
And also handles about 1,700 of those types of transactions a day.
Wow.
And there are about 100 employees currently in the office.
Okay. So what inspired you to run for the county clerk position?
Well, as you know, I do a whole lot of work in the community. I am a member of the NAACP Hempstead branch, Hempstead Community Land Trust, the Hempstead School Board. I also serve on the IDA board for the town of Hempstead. I'm also a member of AARP local branch, the Hempstead Chamber of Commerce, and the Lions Club. And so I look at and think about all of the services and the various aspects in which I, render my services.
Mm-hmm.
And it just really, really made sense to run. As you and I know, because you and I serve together. I'm a former Hempstead Village trustee.
Yes.
And it just really kind of that experience in serving along with you really opened my eyes to how we need very desperately to provide equitable services across the county, because there are multiple areas that receive all the services, and then there are areas of the county that don't receive anywhere near the resources that we should. And so that's one of the main reasons I'm running, along with a few other reasons.
Okay, so can you share your professional communication, your professional community background and qualification for this particular role? With all that you're doing, how does that play into becoming running for the county clerk's position?
Well, I am also a professor of English at Nassau Community College, and so this is literally in my wheelhouse. This is a position that has to deal with organization, records, writing, research, all of which I do in my professional life and in my academic life. Also, in the various positions I hold, I usually try to go for secretary, because it's a position that I enjoy, having to have documentation and make sure it's accurate. These are the things that are important to me. And so they're very literally lined up with the responsibilities of the clerk. And I feel like I'm the best person for the job.
Okay. So I know that you mentioned all of the different things that you do, as well as sit on the Hempstead School Board, right? So are you currently sitting on the board?
I am currently on the board. I just got reelected in May. I had decided initially that I wasn't going to run for the school board again, give somebody else a chance. But so many members of the community and so many residents came to me and said, listen, we really, really need you to run. You have the background, you have the expertise, you're already in the field of education. We need somebody who works in that field to be on the board along with other areas of the really, really wonderful people we have that's currently serving on the board. And I finally agreed to, and I got the highest number of votes of everyone in the election.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Also, what I would like to find out is that how many students are you governing when it comes to the school board?
It's tricky. There used to be about 5,100 students.
Mhm.
That regretfully has decreased. It's a little over 2,000 now.
Right.
And so, you know, it fluctuates depending on multiple areas and multiple factors, including immigration status, including our students who have unstable housing that move in and out of the district. So, you know, it's been quite a challenge, but we're up for it and we're trying to do the best we can for the students.
And you're also a professor over at Nassau Community College, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's been so rewarding to see the students graduate from Hempstead and then go into the community college, and I see them on campus. It's just the best. It's the best thing ever. Hempstead is the highest feeder into Nassau Community College and has been for several years.
Mhm.
And so there are lots of our students who live in and around Hempstead and then go into they pursue their college education there.
So, if elected as county clerk, how would you balance all your duties as Hempstead School Board member, Chamber of Commerce, professor, land trust? How do you manage, how are your plan to balance all of these different endeavors? Because I know, you know, when I was serving as village trustee, not once, but, you know, twice, I stepped away from the position as president for the Hempstead Chamber of Commerce and gave other people the opportunity, because sometime when you wear too many hats, you know, it becomes very difficult to focus on your main goal, which is to probably govern, you know, a certain elected position. Because we know running is, you know, a lot of work by itself. So how do you plan to do all of these different things at once?
Well, regretfully, I will have to place my position and my teaching on hold for the 4-year term, and so I'll just be on unpaid leave at the college. And for everything else, life goes on. Most of the meetings are in the evenings, and then the work that goes on behind the scenes I can do on my own time. So I'll have to put although I'll have to put teaching on hold. The school board meetings happen in the evenings primarily.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, every now and then during the day I'll get a call and have some responsibility to fulfill. Most of the community work I do is a once a month meeting, but then there are also evenings and weekends. And I have really, really kind of tried to manage my time as far as prioritizing, you know, which positions I need to, which areas I need to absolutely attend and which ones I don't. So, and you know this all too well, I'm a mom, you're a mom, we multitask, and that is very literally what we do with our eyes closed. And so if there's a meeting where I must be there to take notes and then there's a conflicting meeting, then communication is the key. I contact the other entity and I say, listen, I really need to be here, or I split my time and say, hey, you know, I can take notes for 30 minutes, but then I have to be in this other place, and most people understand that and work with me. And also, I've learned that really it takes a community to get the work done. So especially since my injury here, I've learned to rely on other people to a greater extent than I have previously, and to just really be aware of the significance of what it means to be part of a team.
Okay, I totally understand. I do hear you when you say that, you know, as a woman, we do multitask, but it can become very difficult when you're governing, you know, a different community, and Nassau County is huge. So to take on multiple roles, you know, that's something that, you know, they wanted me to ask, you know, how do you plan to manage all of the different things? Because sometimes when you're in two different positions as elective positions, something gets, left behind. So, how many people will be working for you if elected in the county clerk's office?
Approximately 100. There are 100 assistants who manage the day-to-day operations. There's also a deputy clerk, and there's a small cabinet. I'm very, very thankful that it is not a position in which I will need to vote on legislation. However, I will be proposing legislation. There are multiple plans I have for how to make the clerk's office run more efficiently, and it requires updating the operating systems and just having a more efficient staff on hand that kind of maximizes their work hours, and making the office more accessible to all of our residents. You're correct. We have almost 1.4 million people living in Nassau County, and I plan to serve every single one of them.
Okay, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. So how do you view the roles of the county clerk serving the residents on a daily basis?
So there are, again, a lot of things that need to change in that office. I very desperately would love to see the extended hours come back so that our residents who work, our residents who have to pick up children and grandchildren from daycare and school will be able to make it to the office without having to take a day off to make their transactions. Currently, the office closes at about 4:30, so that the transactions can close, and then 5 o'clock is the official close of the office. And that schedule just doesn't work with a lot of people. It's a shame that there are no extended hours at least once a week, so that it's convenient for people to get to and to do what they need to do.
Right.
Also, there's a mobile van that is available that a lot of people don't even know about. So the purpose of the van is to go to various communities throughout the county and service people who primarily have mobility issues. So they may go to a senior center, they may go to a library, they may go throughout the county to provide the services for people who just can't get to the office to do what they need to do. And I looked on the schedule for where the van goes. It is publicly accessible on the website, and it goes to one area of the county and then comes back. As I've been meeting various people and various groups throughout the campaign, I have asked how many people even know that the mobile van exists, and very few people in other areas around the county know that the van exists other in the primarily wealthy areas. We have to change that. If we are really committed to servicing the whole county, then let's make good on that promise and actually service the areas that are underprivileged and still have seniors and still need people to, the people who need it the most should have those resources available to them. The NWBE grants that are available through county funds should be accessible to the residents in the areas where minorities and women or women and minorities reside, and that information should get to them instead of only the friends of the current administration, or only the people that they deem necessary. It's not fair, it's not right, and we need to make a change in that.
As a county clerk, you don't have anything to do with grants, though. That's not a part of your judicial duties.
You are correct about that. However, I do plan to run a series of workshops that free of charge to all the residents that provide information on those, because the business licenses do go through the county clerk's office. And so indirectly those business licenses are filed there. The people who are filing those licenses should know their what they have access to. They should know their resources. And so I would love to provide those types of workshops, as well as to people, primarily our senior populations, who are the primary targets for property deed scams. We need to have workshops that make the residents of Nassau County aware of how to avoid those, because a lot of people have gotten caught, and it's heartbreaking.
So you're planning to do a collaboration with the other agencies within the building in Nassau County with the clerk's office?
Absolutely. The clerk's office, the town supervisors in each of the towns in the county, the town of Hempstead, town of North Hempstead, town of Oyster Bay. We really need to work collaboratively across the board to provide genuine residents with services that they need and deserve, instead of just taking money while the taxes increase and we don't see the fruits of that labor.
Right. So, how would you protect the sensitivity of the records against, against cyber threats and stuff like that?
So again, it has to do with, that's an excellent question, and it has to do with updating the operating systems and, providing enough spyware that combats this problem. The scammers are getting more and more savvy. They're getting more and more strategic with how they break into systems, but we have to be airtight with those systems and provide as much of the spyware as we can. And I'm not sure that's happening. But in addition to that, we also need to update the systems so that requests don't take the 2 or 3 days that they currently take. The whole system needs to be updated just like 1974 in there. And we have to make sure that, the requests are processed quickly and efficiently.
Right. I definitely believe there have to be an upgrade in terms of, the different cyber technology that's being used. I'm not sure what they're using, so I'm not going to, say anything against. But however, I know that there are a lot of our seniors that are being taken advantage, that they're losing their deeds, which, as a county clerk, you have those things in your possession where these people are, signing over deeds and not aware of the fact that's a scam that's happening. And by the time they turn around, they have lost everything. So these deeds are, property of the clerks. So, to know that someone goes in office, this is something that we have to protect our seniors against. The deeds that are, now being scammed and people are losing their homes. And now we have another issue with housing and stuff like that. But however, I'm going to stick to the topic of the position of the county clerk. If elected, what are some of the first 3 priorities you want to focus on?
I have to, and I plan to evaluate the staff, and I have a sense that there's going to be a little bit of an exodus if I come in. This position will be one that makes history in Nassau County. I will be the first African American person to hold any position at the county level as an elected official. We currently have an amazing deputy county executive. She's a good friend of mine and has been for over 2 decades. She was appointed, however, and there has never been anyone on a ticket from any party that was elected into a position with the county. And so, I have that said, I have a sense that there are going to be a few people who decide to retire or would request transfers, because the old way of doing things is going to pass away when I come in and, fix what I believe has been broken, but it's going to take evaluation before making a whole lot of drastic moves. So one of the first things I'm going to do is to interview each of the members of the staff to decide on and to, for them to share with me what their plans are, what their goals are, where they see themselves in 5 years. I also believe in personnel development. So I believe in strengthening people and putting them in positions where they can do their best work. I plan to engage the staff and figure out what the level of morale is and how that can be increased. And also to really start proposing to the legislature, because again, I don't vote on policy, but I can propose policy. And so I would love to propose updating the operating system so that, we can better service the residents. And so my priorities are to make it more efficient, to make it more accessible, and also to continue to, as I have been currently, to research why the fees are so high. I have to tell you, the fees that we pay in Nassau County for property deed transfer and any processing of the property deeds is higher than the fees in Westchester County. They're higher than the fees in Suffolk County. And I've been trying to figure out why that is. Because if I can do the research and I can understand how to lower the fees, I can make those proposals.
Right.
So I haven't been spending a whole lot of time with policymakers as much as I have with title insurance companies who really have the lowdown on the information for what those fees are, how they're assessed, and what they're used for. Mm-hmm. And it's unnecessary. It's completely unfathomable that we're really just kind of ripping off the residents right now.
So your plans is to also try to lower the fees that people are paying?
Yes. As I've gone from every corner of this county, from the north to the south shore, from east to west and central, I have found that everyone is concerned with affordability. It is on top of everyone's mind. The people, the residents of the North Shore and mansions are just as concerned with affordability as those in lower income housing in other areas of the county. And so it's a priority for me to have those fees reduced that our residents pay.
Okay. How will you measure your success if elected as a county clerk?
If I can get those initial goals accomplished, then I will consider that to be a success. If I have any small part in providing a better quality of life for all the residents of Nassau County and not just a few, that'll be success.
Okay. And how would you engage young people to understand the county clerk's office?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I think this happens in every election. We're trying to figure out how to engage the young people. And one population of young people that I would love to target is first-time home buyers, who are primarily are recent graduates of certificate and degree programs in their 20s, maybe early 30s, who are starting to build their lives on Long Island. And I would focus on them and try to encourage them to take the necessary steps and to inform them of and encourage them to pay attention to what the title companies are charging them and what Nassau County is charging them for their to get their property purchase.
Okay. Are we so okay?
And so it's absolutely necessary that's for sure one population that I would target. And just really kind of continue to evaluate what their needs are, what their concerns are, what their passions are. And for sure, one of them is home ownership. I can vouch for this population myself as I teach my 18 and 19-year-old college students. I ask them what their goals are, and many of them say that they would love to buy a home one day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, as a county clerk, with the young people, you said that you will focus on purchasing homes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. How does that play into your position, though? Because it's that you're not doing real estate here.
It's true.
So and you're not doing mortgages. So as a county clerk, how do you educate the young people about the position as a county clerk? I know you talked about the taxes. Are we talking about in terms of talking to them about grievance and stuff like that? Because that is a role more. So how would you engage them in the position as a county clerk and not so much just purchasing home in focus of your position you're running for?
Very good. It's not so much the taxes per se. The taxes are voted on, and the increases and decreases, if we ever have any, are voted on by county legislators.
Right.
But the county clerk's office does control the fees, and so to decrease the fees would make home ownership easier. Because even for a transfer where people are trying to decrease the percentage of their interest rates for their mortgage, a lot of people are turned off by how much the initial charge is to get that process started. And so they come in saying, wow, interest rates have decreased. You know, I can go from paying 7% to paying 1 or 2%. Wow, this is a great opportunity for me to have my fees decrease. And then they get into the weeds of the paperwork, and then it comes out to be $8 or $9 or $10,000 just to get the process started, so that they can go from a 7% interest rate to a 1% interest rate. And a lot of people say, "Wow, I didn't realize that all that money up front would be necessary. So you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to keep the interest rate that I have." Personal story, that happened to me. And so I do not, and I didn't understand that it was to some extent based on the fees that the county was charging for just to get the paperwork rolling. And so I don't want that to happen to large numbers of people. I would be responsible for that aspect of what they have to pay and what they're being charged. And I would love to do something about that, because as you said in so many words, we can get the ball rolling with more home ownership if we can do at least something about the fees that are charged when people go through the process of obtaining a mortgage.
Okay. So, we would also like to know is that we know that when it comes to the county clerk's office, you're also in charge of dealing with transparency when it comes to election, which is something that is huge. What measures would you put in place to ensure the transparency for the election? Because with everything that's going on in the world today, you know, one of the biggest things is that people talk about the fact that, you know, people are tampering with the ballots, not being able to get their votes counted correctly. So what are your plans for that? Because this is something that's going on, you know, around the world. So around the country, rather. So how would you manage to make sure that you implement safeguarding our votes?
So free and fair elections are at the heart of what makes a democracy a democracy. Just like we can vote elected officials in, we can vote them out. And to do that freely and fairly is a right that we were granted when we were granted voting rights. This is especially passionate to me as a woman and as a woman of color, because of the struggle that women had to go through to even obtain voting rights in the first place throughout the 1900s, early 1900s up to 1920 when the law got passed.
Right.
As an African American up until 1965, when the and even more recent than that with the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. So this is a priority for me. The Board of Elections is primarily responsible for carrying out and ensuring that we have free and fair elections in Nassau County, not so much the clerk's office. However, I will say that the clerk's office is a separate position that works autonomous or the legislature. And that said, what I will do to ensure that those three branches remain separate and that I get to the people what they need and what they request is to fulfill any FOIL requests that go through my office without having a county executive, whoever he or she may be, that as what is happening currently causes a rejection of some of the FOIL requests for information that the public deserves to have and has requested to have. And somehow there are inconveniently these delays that happen with FOIL requests. As I've been going through the campaign trail, I've spoken to people who said, you know, we requested information on this action that the county is taking and that action that the county is taking, and we just our requests have been stalled. Well, what are you hiding? Why is it that the people can't get the requests that they have, that they are making? And if the county executive is going to the clerk and saying, well, let's not make that information public, that is a real injustice to the residents, because the information deserves to be public. If it is within the realm of the Freedom of Information legislation that enables that information to be public.
Right, because we know as the county clerk, you're actually the chief election officer, so your responsibility is to manage the election, maintain the votes of registration, and make sure that it's put away, administrated fairly, correct?
Absolutely. And as county clerk, I will make sure that that process remains free and fair for all of our residents and not just the ones in the wealthier areas. For a while, I'm not entirely sure that all residents have gotten access to, you know, polling places in convenient areas. And when the results of every election come out, people pay attention to, and especially the elected officials and the government officials pay attention to which areas voted and which didn't. And I would love to see the areas heavily populated with people of color really, really come out to vote in this election. It's so important, and there's so much on the line.
I totally agree, because, you know, one of the things is when it comes to people voting, I think at this particular point, when you are the chief officer of handling people's ballots and make sure that they're registered, it shouldn't be about party anymore. It should be about people.
Absolutely.
And make sure that you keep the integrity of someone's vote in place, because, you know, you have a job that people are actually fight to get these rights. And now at some point, you know, if elected, you have to make sure that you separate yourself from everything else and just kind of focus on, if this is this person's vote, that's what it is, and nothing else matters at that point. You only answer to the people. So I have maybe one more question. What are your plans to mobilize the county clerk's office, such as online, e-filing, and digitalized? Oh boy, I couldn't get that word out. But you know what? That's okay. We're just gonna stick with e-filing.
Okay.
Maybe I need to get something to drink, but go ahead.
No, it should be free and accessible. It should absolutely be free, fair, and accessible to the public. It comes with updating the entire operating system. There's no reason why some transactions should not be accessible from home. Mm-hmm. We should be able to e-file. We should be able to put in requests on from home on our computers at home into the clerk's office, instead of having everything to be a paper transaction and a physical transaction. The entities that are suffering the most are, the paralegals that have to run back and forth to that office to get work done for the court system. People's transfer of property deeds, it should be easily accessible. These files should be scanned, and you should be able to get them at home, as opposed to having to physically come into the office to get a lot of these transactions done.
I do have another question. What steps would you take to reach out to the unserved community, as well as the non-documented community, in terms of them understanding what goes on in the county clerk's office with open communication for everyone?
So one of my goals is to make the office a welcoming and inviting place, and a place that when any resident, regardless of their citizenship status, comes through the door, they feel like there's someone genuinely who's trying to help them, and that we want the residents to come in, and we want them to have the services that they need. So one thing that I would love to do is to provide a multitude of translators for the many languages that people speak throughout Nassau County. We're becoming more and more diverse all the time, and so for sure I would make sure that there are interpreters there to accurately convey to the staff what the needs are of the residents. And another that I would convey is to just get the word out to the community that they don't need to be afraid if they have non-citizenship status to come in and to have the services that they need.
Okay. Well, everyone, we actually conversed. We had the conversation. So, Trustee Joyett, could you tell us what we need to do and when we need to do it?
Well, early voting starts on October 25th. If you go to the NassauCounty.gov website, then there's information on, or if you want to, you can Google early voting in Nassau County, and the instructions are super simple. It literally takes about 45 seconds to fill in your name, address, and telephone number. Telephone is optional. And you will be mailed an early voting application. Fill that out, and once the ballot comes to your house, you can fill that out as well. You can walk in with it to a polling place, or you can mail it by or before the November 4th deadline. There will be polling places available starting October 25th and all up until November 2nd for early voting. And so you can go into any of these places. Most are available from about 9 a.m. to about 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. And of course, voting day is November 4th. The polls will open at 6 a.m. and close at 9 p.m. So everyone who is listening to this podcast, please make sure that you come out and vote. In most cases, it will take less than 10 minutes to go into your polling place, fill out the ballot, send it through the machine, and be on your way. This election is crucial, and I urge everyone to please consider doing your homework, doing your research, finding out who the best candidates are on this ballot, and making your voice heard.
Okay, everyone, we conversed. We had the conversation, and thank you, Trustee Joyett, for coming in. We greatly appreciate you coming by each and every time to let us know about whatever endeavors that you're going into. So we wish you well. Just so you guys know that next week we have Legislator Scott Davis that will be here on Wednesday. I will post the information, but you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.